I'm Claire and this is Yorka and we're on this Squawk Global Experience.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Squawk Global Experience. We have a fun conversation for you today. I know the last few episodes have been really heavy, but they're really important for us to be able to share and use this platform and talk about the struggles with the rescues and wildlife and how things are going. We wanted to bring something positive, but also it's a rescue story. It's a story of what second chances look like. So we have somebody on the show today. He's on camera right now, which is amazing. We have Yorka here, and Yorka's guardian is Claire. Claire, welcome to Squawk Global.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you. Claire, we'd love to kick this off. Who do you got right there in front of you? Who's that?
So this little king is Yorka. So he's 23 years old and I've had him for the last 2 years since he was 21. He's a rescue from a charity called Birdline.
I'd love to know about your background. What made you want to rescue a parrot? Did you have parrots before?
Yeah, I grew up with much smaller parrots. So I grew up with budgies and smaller parrots my whole childhood, really. My very first budgie was 16, I think, when he passed away. My literal best friend. It was quite popular to have budgies, actually. All my mum's friends had them. And I used to train my mum's friends' budgies for them, stepping up and getting used to things. But then up to uni, started work. I didn't really have time for any pets, really, apart from the chaps in the tank. And it got to the point where I figured, actually, I've got time now for a pet. And I really wanted another bird. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have a look, see what's out there. I thought I'll go slightly bigger than budgies because I'm there for a longer lifespan, so I don't cry for 10 years. I went onto Birdline because I really liked their website and the way they rehomed. They've all got their little bios, the parrots and the birds there. They've got companions, they've got bonded ones. So it's a bit like a dating website. You're reading through these bios.
Right.
And I saw Yorkers and I thought, oh, that's my boy. That's my bird. I thought, I guess I'm getting a big parrot.
Yeah, from a budgie to a macaw.
I know, big go.
Not only that, blue and gold, they're one of the bigger ones too.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a big boy.
It's funny that you say that, like the dating site, because it's true though.
It is true.
It's not like you're just getting a species and they're all copy paste.
No.
Every single one of them have their own personality.
Yeah, you have to read what they like, what they dislike, if they can fit in your family, if you have kids, if they're good with kids. It is very similar to a dating site.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. And I wanted to make sure he was happy around kids because my sister's got a child. Some of the bios were, he's a bit of a grump and
Right.
His was all cheekiness. And I thought, yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say what stood out from his bio that you were like, that's my boy.
Because there is part of a rescue when you do choose, there is something that definitely stands out. There is with us, and we'd love to hear what it was with Yorka.
For Yorka, it was that they said, I'm a very cheeky blue and gold macaw, loves his treats. And it said, I've got a few sort of choice swear words. I may pop out every now and then. And it said, but I make up for it by calling mum and blowing a kiss. And I thought, absolute legend.
That's awesome.
And I thought that's such a cute, cheeky personality. I thought, that's my boy. That's my boy.
That's amazing. Do you know how long Yorka was at the rescue before you were able to rescue him?
One of the people that worked for the rescue, John, his last caretaker, I think he had him for about 10 years, if I'm correct. So he was a part of the rescue, but he was also part of the team. He was going to their shows and educating. I think he went to schools and things to educate about parrots and that kind of thing. He comes with a standard, hello, I'm a parrot. And John's amazing with him. He clearly adored him. He had a really lovely life with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it got to the point where he had to increase his work and he thought, I haven't got the time to give to Yorka. So he thought it's probably time that he joins the pages and see we can rehome.
I heard Yorka say hello a few times there. He's like, hello.
He's seen someone walk past, he went, bye.
He's so cute. You know, John's story sounds really important as well because one of the biggest things I think you can do for your parrot if you love them so much, and it's tough love, but surrendering a parrot to a family or somebody who can take them and give them that love that you can't is probably the strongest love that you can do. John recognizing that and saying, hey, I can't give this guy who deserves the world. So let me find somebody who can.
Exactly. He could have just left him in a cage and been like, oh, I can't do that. He knew what was best.
And he'd still talk to John. I always send him updates and text message saying, here's our boy being cheeky. He's so experienced with birds, and I can call him, text him anytime if I've got any sort of queries. So he's still part of Yorka's life in that way.
That's amazing.
That is.
That's amazing. Yeah. And Yorka's laughing at that.
I know. You know why? Because he's about to do something naughty.
I love that.
He's sat on the magazine stand.
Oh.
If you need to interfere, please do so. Like I said, we're not live, so.
Yeah.
And do you know Yorka's experience prior to John? He had him for around 10 years and Yorka's 23. So do you know history prior to that?
I've been told that he initially was bought from breeder by a lady who said to her husband, I want a parrot. And he said, well, you can have a parrot or a holiday this year because of the costs of getting parrots from breeders. So she chose the parrot and called him my Yorka after the holiday she didn't have. And over the years, that's gone to Yorka because it's not a very nice sentiment to be named after a loss. I think eventually she moved to America and then just didn't want to take him with her. I think he was then with a lady. She cared for him beautifully. I don't know if she was part of Birdline at all, but she did know John. And John at that point had a cockatoo. She had Yorka. And whenever they met up, they found that the birds preferred the other person. So they did a swap.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. And they settled with their preferred person. And then, from John, he came to me.
So you're his fourth owner.
Yeah.
Which is standard.
Sadly to say, that's under the typical homing already, right? We talked to so many people, and we had Judy from Parrot Partners, who's one of the largest rescue centers in Canada, and said that it's not uncommon that the parrots come through her door have had 8 homes, which is really, truly sad. But things happen. Life happens. These guys live forever. And I think when people go into a pet store or they go to buy a baby from a breeder, they're not thinking the implications. When somebody says these guys live for 100 years, it doesn't cross your mind. You just think, oh yeah, in this moment, that sounds perfect. But life happens. We constantly change with our personalities, our lifestyle change. We might have kids, things happen in our life. We might get injured. We might get sick. Our family might get sick. And we don't think about the long-term realities of having a parrot. But I'm really grateful to hear that Yorka's background seemed mostly positive.
I was going to say that. The first one, a little superficial, no offense.
Yeah.
But the second and the third sounded very positive.
Yeah. And that makes me so happy because there are so many that don't have the same story that he does.
And look at him. He's gorgeous. He's a beautiful, beautiful bird. You can tell that he's had a lot of love in his life.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you guys to bond? Because it looks like you have a great relationship with him.
Yeah. So we bonded actually very quickly. Yorka is somebody that doesn't really have a gender preference, which was great. I do everything for him because I had the experience before. So I think my husband he just let me take the reins. So we bonded quite quickly. And that's when he decided he didn't like my husband because I am now Yorka's property. But we're so lucky. We bonded within the first 6 weeks. It was very, very quick. And then we had to be very, very patient with him and my husband. But after a full-on year and a bit, he's now at the point where I'm still his favorite, but he will sit on my husband. He'll sit and preen on him. He loves to play rough and tumble, especially if I'm out. They'll totally have boys' night together. So yeah, he does everything with him that he would do with me now.
Oh, adorable. We were the exact same kind of story with Gizmo as well.
Yeah.
He loves Emily, but he will tolerate me. It's getting better and better. And I think with your husband, they'll probably have a little bit of a stronger bond as years go on, but he'll always be his. We don't like to use the word mate because of the fact that
we're not their mates.
We shouldn't be their mates, but in a way, he has looked at you like that. You're my mom. Me and you are partners.
Yes.
And we'll tolerate that guy.
It's definitely a different relationship, the way you have and the way I have. But I'm so glad he's got to that point now because it was tough.
Isn't it really tough when you can't even sit together on the sofa?
Yep.
And especially if my husband went to kiss me, that'd have to be really quick. He wants to keep his lips, basically.
Yeah. And it's funny because Gizmo wouldn't attack Kyle. He would bite me. I would take the brunt of it. He'd bite onto me being like, don't touch her.
Yeah. Give me the side eye. But it's a tough dynamic. And the reason why we'd like to have these conversations is somebody might say, oh my gosh, my dream would be to have a bird like Yorka, but it could be a strain on your relationship. Like if somebody wasn't in a good, solid relationship, your husband could have been like, hey, ultimatum, me or the bird, if things aren't working out, right? And some people would have to be faced with a really tough decision, and some people might choose the bird.
Yeah, because it can take years.
Yeah.
We're not talking like months. It takes years. It took him
nearly 3 years.
Nearly 3 years.
Wow.
So I think that's another thing. A lot of birds get rehomed because the spouses either become jealous or they become threatened and they're scared of the bird because it will attack.
Yeah.
And they don't take the right steps to try and solve it so you can all live nicely together.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, it could take so long. I was so chuffed that it was literally just a year, even though it was a long and difficult year.
Yeah.
It's a long time. Some people wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and he's huge. It's like a whole weapon coming at you, you know?
Scissors, yeah.
It's intimidating, I'm not going to lie. Their beaks, even to this day, I'm still intimidated by Gizmo's beak, and that is way bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the PSI is something like half of a lion's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did some research on that.
Yeah, that's true.
Crazy.
Half of a lion coming at you. It's like 3 times larger than a dog. Think of a pit bull or a large dog coming at you with their big mouth. But imagine a bird can clamp down and just like goodbye finger if they really wanted to.
If they wanted to.
For sure.
The good thing is most of these guys, I feel like, do a lot more warnings, but even their warnings can be very impactful and hurt. Speaking of biting, have you ever been bitten by Yorka?
I've only been bitten once by him in the first couple of weeks that we had him for no reason, but that's Parrot, isn't it? That's one of the realities of owning a bird. It's like when you're going to get bitten, not if. That was a big clamp down on my arm. I'm grateful that he's never really gone for it because he could, you see online people with stitches on their arms, completely ripped chunks out of people. He got my husband once playing on the lip. And I've got a picture I can show you. But that was a stitch off. I had to take him to work. I stitch him up. And that was just playing. And that's a modified bite, not malicious or anything like that. So, yeah.
He's laughing about that. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember. I remember when I took out Dad's lip.
Yeah, he's not going to do it again.
I've gotten bit on my lip twice by Gizmo. Me and him, we can do kisses. There was just a few times where he was like, not today.
That's it. Yeah. They can be bullies. They like to bully. They like to wind people up. So sometimes that involves a bite.
Exactly.
Does Yorka have a body language that you know, or is it just spontaneous?
Definitely when he doesn't want something to happen, you can read him like a book. He's really, really good. Do the open beak, and the head down. And occasionally he'll do big wings, but he does those to impress people as well. So you can't really rely on the big wings. It's more the beak. But yeah, he's very obvious with his language. So yeah, we're lucky. Other than that, the lunges are mostly just to try and scare you, which he finds hilarious.
There's not a lot of people that actually understand that birds do give warnings with their body language. It's really good to read. I know when Gizmo is in one of those moods and we're like, okay, you just calm down.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could tell my husband sometimes he'll be going to ask him if he wants to step up from his play stand. And I'll say, no, don't bother. He's definitely... Yeah.
And that's really important, especially with Gizmo being such a talkative and really good bird. People are like, I want a bird that speaks like that. First of all, these birds can speak without any words. You can have full conversations with them with just reading body language, with seeing how they are. And they can be loving as well. Their body language can be very loving. Like I'm sure Yorka does a lot of cuddles.
Oh, he loves the cuddle. Yeah.
He's a cuddle boy.
He is, yeah. And he starts to get to the point in the evenings where, like I always say to him, you want cuddles? And he starts to ask for it now.
That's
We
so
help them out.
cute.
We have scritches and they do that little fluffing their head up, that little
Mhm.
language.
Oh, that's so cute. What an experience that must be to be able to hold such a large, beautiful, majestic parrot like that and be able to give it so much love. How does that feel?
Oh, it's like a massive privilege. This beautiful, exotic, and they've got all their trust in you. And similarly, they're so fragile. They're prey species and they're so fragile and they trust you enough that I can put my arms around him and give him
Right.
a little, and to be trusted by him is everything. It's a real privilege.
That's such a good point. A prey species is an animal that is preyed upon. They are fragile and they can hide things very well because of the fact that they have to look strong and stay strong and be on alert at all times. And you're right, my little conure, I could put my hand around her neck and it could be like that little. And I realized that's so tiny. I could just take her and crush her with my hand if I wanted to because she's so tiny, but yet she trusts me to be in my hands. And we have that relationship where she's like, no, this is okay. But it is an honor. I would have to say that is the right word, is like being very privileged and an honor to be able to have these parrots that trust us that much.
Absolutely. We're very blessed.
What are some of Yorka's favorite foods or treats or snacks?
So his absolute favorite is pistachios. I think he'd trade me in for a pistachio. So yeah, it's his high value treats when we're leaving the house or if we're trying to do some training. He's not fussy, nuts all around. So he has a pellet diet. He's very good with his fruit. He's typical little boy. Trying to get some veg in him is a nightmare. You'll make his bowl up and it's like, here's today's bowl, that half of it will be on the floor and I've bought it and prepared it fresh for you. So we're working on the veg. And basically anything that's on your plate, it's a battle. If you eat around him, he wants exactly what you have. So that's trying to teach him to stay away. He's getting better. I believe he was on quite a bad diet when he was with previous owners, but John got him onto good pellets. And now he's very happy with his pellets, to be fair. So it's just getting that fresh fruit and veg.
We found through talking to people and trainers, they love to eat with their flock. So to encourage them to eat more fruit and vegetables, you have to kind of do it with them and where you're like eating them. We found that our Jende Konya, she is so fussy with food. But if we pretend to eat it with her, she'll eat it.
Yeah. And I've been noticing that lately with her pellets. She's been trying more because I'll hold some and we'll pretend to eat them with her and then she's eating them with me. What birds do is they look and see what others are doing and they're a lot more prone to trying new things. I'd say a majority that are in captivity, unfortunately, are just never on the right diet. And I don't mean that in disrespect to anybody who has parrots that are trying their best. We just can't give them what they should get in captivity in their own environments of where they grow up. Most of our parrots, regardless if they came from a breeder or a pet store, like for instance, our Jende Conure, who came from a pet store, who most birds that are in pet stores are sometimes there for a year, could be even longer. And they're not going to feed them fresh veg every day. That's too expensive, right? They're there for a profit. So a lot of times they put them on something easy and cheap, which is seed diet. And then these parrots develop an addiction to these high fat foods, just like a human would, right? If we got to eat all of our favorite dessert items every day and fast food and all that from an early age, we would be in a position where we were addicted to that sugar content as well. And that same thing happens to these guys. And then switching them is hard. We see it with human beings, and having to switch your diet to a more healthy one, it's very challenging. You know?
Very challenging. And it's funny because things that you think might be healthy, because for us, nuts are really healthy. It's good for us and they're good fats, but actually in a bird, it's bad fats and it can give them fatty liver disease. Having that knowledge as well that you can't do too much fruit because then that's too much sugar. And that was a big learning curve as well.
And it's expensive. The food that they should have is very expensive, right? Like the fresh vegetables, you go to the shop and you spend all this money on the fresh veg and you put it in their bowl. And then like Gizmo will literally grab it with his beak, give you a look you dead in the eye, and then just drop it or throw it. And he's like, yeah.
I would say 90% of the chop we get, we lovingly prepare We freeze, we vacuum seal, and we give him every day. I would say 95% of that goes to waste.
Yeah.
100%. I've started putting what goes on the floor outside to the birds now because I can't watch it waste anymore.
We do the exact same thing. I throw it outside for those, and then I see them all out there grateful.
Yeah, they're all waiting in the morning. It's like, come on.
Exactly. He's on his play stand by the window. I'm like, look.
Yeah, that was for you.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to pretend that you love it all. I think that's such a good way of getting them interested. Like you say, he didn't even want to look at peas until I was shelling some for the fish. And now he wants a plate of peas every evening on the plates, like some kind of parrot Caesar. But actually, on the plus side, it just means that a lot of our diet has become more parrot friendly.
Right.
So then actually he could have a bit of carrot from my plate because it's okay. But we try and give him a little bit of food when we're having food.
Yep.
It's really difficult because Gizmo can't fly, so he won't come over. He just like wants some. But I don't know, Konya can fly. So if we're having a meal and we're just sat there, it can become annoying and people don't understand this. They want to eat with their flock. Kyle will be eating and she's like running down his arm, trying a bit, and then she goes back up his arm and then she's just everywhere on him. And I'm just like, oh. So what we do is we'll let her have a little bit of food with us and then we're like, okay, now take this and we'll put her back in for a bit. Otherwise, it's chaos.
It's funny that you say you change your diet because I love avocado. We used to have avocado toast, avocado on a lot of things, but now it's one of those foods that we tend to not buy. Very, very, very rare nowadays because I know how toxic it is.
Yeah.
And it's scary because maybe a little piece fell on the floor or something and Gizmo walks around the kitchen a lot. Or maybe our Jende conure, I'm not watching fully and she swoops down and grabs a piece. We're very mindful about that stuff too. And that's another thing for people who are watching. If you're looking for a bird, you have to change your entire lifestyle to everything you do. Your kitchenware might all be not safe for your bird.
Teflon,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, Teflon pans, which are super common.
I loved candles. You know, they make me feel cozy and warm, especially in the winter. We can't have them. We can't have the little plug-in things that smell nice. And my oven, I have to, there's just elbow grease now. I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, no self-cleaning. No. Literally everything kills them.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. That's something to be mindful because that's what I was saying. I think that's what some people don't know because I was the same way. A lot of people don't do research. When you mentioned you saw Jende conure in the pet store, I was like, oh, what does that mean? What does that look like? You do your research a little bit. I started researching some cons, but I didn't want to go any further because I was like dead set on getting one. So I didn't want to really go further into the con list. If I did, I would have realized exactly what she is, a wild little beast, a wild destruction little animal. But a lot of people don't do that. And then it can put a lot of strain, even if you're a single person, a lot of strain on your life because now all the things that you love, like clothes, destroyed. I've spent probably $500 worth of hats, at least. Hats destroyed. I would say from all the destruction, it's been a few $1,000s in destruction from clothes, hats, computers, phones, iPads, wires after wires, damage to the house. And it's no fault of their own. They're birds. They're wild creatures.
Yeah. Has Yorka caused any damage around your house?
Yeah, he likes to bite this sofa, hence why there's quite a lot of blankets now to try and protect it. If he gets overly excited, where he might want to lunge at someone or try and bite, he deflects. So he'll bite something next to him. Only the sofa, which has got quite a lot of holes now in the back. He loves to chew the blinds. So I'm hoping my husband doesn't see this. Because I'm like, Daddy's going to barbecue you if you do more of that. When my husband's out, I go around with a paintbrush and just go over the things that Yorka's chipped at. But yeah, like skirting boards, door frames, the blinds, window seals, because his outside is the other side of the window and he's always wanting to go out exploring and so much destruction.
One of our guests was Robin Hormans, who was on our show, and she's a parrot trainer, but she recently went to Costa Rica to go to one of the Macaw sanctuaries where they breed and release into the wild because they're helping the numbers over there, but she put it in perspective when she was able to see the jungle that they actually live in the wild and to see how large it is. Whereas our homes are a tiny cage, just our home alone, not let alone the cage that they live in, but the home that they live in is a tiny cage to them. So they're destructive. I get to chew whatever I want to in the wild. Why are you telling me no?
Yeah.
And they're not domesticated.
Or should they be?
Yeah, nor should they be. But they do understand a little bit where you tell them no, not do that. But they're also like, I'm a wild bird. Like, I want to forage and I want to destroy this and I want to do something with my beak. We have to know that these guys that we're bringing into our home, we're bringing them into a cage, then putting them into a smaller one for their safety. It's sad, but unfortunately, the captivity rate is so high that these guys can't be released back into the wild. So we have to care for them as we have them in this place, and we have to give them the best life. And that includes us having to make sacrifices of our home and the things that we love, because it will get destroyed. It's not a matter of, no, they won't. It's, yes, they will.
Yes, they will. Yeah. And will you get there before it's all gone?
What are some of the things that Yorka just loves? Is he got some favorite things, activities?
So he loves shredding, quite obviously. He's not overly bothered about his actual parrot toys. He'd much rather shred boxes, newspapers. He'll go mad for a newspaper and just evil laugh going through it. He loves climbing. So we've got climbing everywhere. He doesn't fly either. He never learnt. He loves foraging. So I try and make a little foraging tub for him. He quite likes a few of the dog toys you can get, you hide treats and things.
Yeah.
I think he feels very clever when he's done that. So we call it the cashew game. So I'll break up little cashews and hide them in the doggy bits. And he very much loves that. He does like to go out and about. He's harness trained. So
amazing.
He loves to go to the pub. And he loves a bar lady, and especially if they're blonde. So Emily, you'd be chuffed up. He's very sociable, so he likes being part of literally everything.
That's amazing. And does he get a lot of attention when you go out?
Oh, so much attention. He's very good at saying hello to people, so they get hellos, and he might do big wings to show off. He's a little performer, really. I think man after my own heart.
He's a stunner. It's part of good parrot guardianship, because it is really important. You have to give them other things in life. And we have not tried and attempted to harness Gizmo because we're a little bit nervous. He's never done it, and he's very nervous about new things. But what we'll do is we have a wagon, like a pushchair wagon, and we put his travel cage in it. And then we take him on adventures all the time. So he gets to at least go outside, enjoy some adventures. He can't fly, but we still, because he's not on a harness, I can't risk it, because he could eventually fly enough to maybe glide into danger. So we have to be mindful of that. And then our little Jende, we definitely tried harness training her. She just doesn't like it. I'll do a little bit more attempts. I was free flying her actually for a while outside. But then one day some predators came in and spooked her, and we lost her for 2 days. And
oh my God,
yeah. Down. I don't even, we were talking about this last night.
It was a needle in a haystack, but I think she tracked us.
Yeah, we were tracking each other down. We heard her in the sky, like flying over us while we were driving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, that was her. I know her squawk. And she was being chased still, like the next.
Yeah, 2 days later.
2 days later, she was still being chased. But then I looked up and I saw her flying away, and we were driving through the neighborhood. We can't fly. So I'm having to drive through streets to figure out where she went. And I look up on this tall tree, and I saw this little yellow head up there, and I was like, oh my gosh. And she came down right away, and she was breathing heavy, and poor thing was exhausted. Yeah. She was making sounds that I've never heard.
She has, still to this day, she has a lot of PTSD from that. And that's people don't understand that we can't let them into the wild. They don't know how to
fend for themselves.
To fend for themselves, yeah, and eat. She was thirsty. She was starving. If she would hear a crow or a magpie, she'd just
she would have like flinches, and for the 48 hours afterwards, she made these like weird sounds, like really scared sounds. And now she still has that PTSD, but she didn't grow up being a hatchling of her parent teaching her, hey, look out for these wild things in the sky, and this is how we go find food, and this is where we find water. Yeah. They don't know They're like, where's my home? Where's my dish? Like, where,
Yeah.
where's,
Yeah.
where's my water bowl?
Yeah.
I'm so grateful we were able to find her. I think in time she would have found any human at that point. That's how usually birds are found, is they eventually find a human. But the sad thing is that sometimes humans, they just think, oh, I found this wild bird, and then they keep him. You know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
happens. Birds are an interesting animal that are
Very complex, isn't it?
They are. I don't like to use the word burden, but they are essentially, because you have to change your whole lifestyle. You can't take vacations without seeing everything through. Everything you do changes. I hate when people that just watch one of our videos and will be like, I want one because they're so cute and they look so easy. They're not. They are very difficult to care for and very expensive.
He's the most involved. 100%. Even going on holiday is massive planning. You can't just pop off for a couple of days. You need to get a pet sitter, or it's so complex. And like you said, it's not a burden, but the attention they need from you, because they're so social. I think I read like 20% of their brain is social engagement and all that sort of stuff, where most other animals is much, much smaller. So they really need that engagement. And it's a lot.
What's your favorite moments with Yorka?
I love being out and about with him because I love exploring with him, but probably cuddles on the sofa just before bed, and we'd have a wind down time, and he would just sit here and preen and have cuddles. That's everything.
And what's your favorite thing he says?
His favorite thing, probably when he shouts. So not that, it's called his. Yeah. Because I didn't bring him down fast enough.
Do better, Mum. Do better.
But yeah, when he shouts, it's really funny. Is if I'm shouting to my husband in the next room, he likes to help. So you can't hear anything. Hilariously, my husband's name is Jonathan, same as John. He's linked that the men are called John, like he knows. So if my husband leaves the room, he'll go, John! John! And it's never not hilarious. That's probably my best.
How much does Yorka weigh? Do you know?
He's just over a kilo. Is tough on my neck.
Exactly. I was just going to say, because Gizmo's like over 500 grams. He's still got some good weight.
Oh,
to him.
yeah.
So I'm sure that having your arm out all day or having him on your shoulder.
He's having a thingy day. It's hard work. Definitely. But yeah, you're good. You're getting better at perching. Another thing is that we're still seeing a behaviorist to see that we can get him sort of less clingy when people are around, because that's another thing, isn't it? When people come round, he wants to be territorial of me. So I actually can't hug my friends when they come round. He's much better than he used to be. But even though we're very lucky, I believe, with him, and I think he's quite well behaved, but we're still seeing a behaviorist. And she made a really good point, actually. So she said, I sport him basically and let him do everything. And she said, you've got to think about their huge lifespans. And as much as I hope it will be a death to us part, it might not be. He might outlive me. And she said, you're not just training him for now, you're training him for the next family that might have him. The things that you think are funny and you put up with and your friends and family do, that might be like a no deal for the next family. So you have to invest in all this training and thinking ahead, because the reality is he might outlive us.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really good point to make. You're not doing for you.
It is.
That was actually going to be my next question. He's 23. He's young. And they can live way longer than smaller parrots and humans. I know you got him from a rescue. Are you classed as his guardian, or do you have him in a will, or how does that work when you rescue him?
So what I really liked about Birdline is I don't ever own him. I foster him. And I really liked that. So it's this agreement that if he outlives me, or if I get sick and I can no longer care for him, he will always go back to the charity. He'll never be left in the lurch. He'll go back to them. They'll care for him. If he was mine, I would for sure have him in my will. I think that should be a requirement, quite frankly.
100%.
I would think it should really be a no-brainer for parrots like him.
I agree. It should. In Canada, there's really no laws or anything. And we just had Judy from Parrot Partners. I mentioned her on this before, but she's trying to start a system here where all rescue birds, or really any bird in captivity, have some sort of tracking ability to them, that if something happens to them, then they go into a rescue center. Then that rescue center officially owns them for life, does find guardianship homes. But like you said, if something happens, because we were on the podcast talking about Gizmo and our bird, and we were saying, yeah, we should have them in our lifetime. But she said, you can't think like that, because of her being rescue center, she sees how many birds come back to her. She said, things happen, you guys. Like, you could go and get an accident tomorrow. So what is your goal with him? Because we don't think like that as humans. We try not to, but things do happen. And what if that did happen? When she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, luckily we have kids, and our kids are aware of our birds. And one of them at least has said that she's going to take them on. But she's only 12 as of right now. The only one that of our children that said that she would take them on. She couldn't take them on now on her own. So we're working on putting that in place now. And it's so important that you do that, because the chances of them outliving us are super high. And then what? How do you guarantee that next home is going to be the right fit if you don't have a will? Let's say our kids end up taking them on and they just say, I'm not doing this. So they found some random person off of Kijiji or one of these internet sites that they're just trying to get a bird, and they don't know enough background on them. And then they just put them in a breeding farm, or they always wanted a bird in a cage that talks. So they just leave them in a cage and not feed them the right stuff. It's sad to think about, but it's important to think about.
For sure. Is there anything about him, about you, that you feel like you want to share before we wrap it up?
Avian vets. Like, I did not realize how hard to find they are. I see it in America, and with all of our friends in our bird community we have online, everyone's like, yep, we go for a yearly checkup with doctor, avian vet, and they specialize in this and they can do this, this, and this. Here, like, having to go on, try and find the list, and are they actually avian or are they just exotic? Like,
right.
Some are exotics, but then it's like, have you had experience with birds? Or it's really hard to find. His vet's almost an hour away.
And they're so much more expensive.
Avian vets, yeah.
Talking to different professionals, that there is a massive parrot crisis, and so many veterinarians are not signing up now to be avian vets because the pressure is too much.
It's the biggest shortage of all vets right now is avian vets. And a lot of the vets who were in the system were older, and a lot of them are retiring, and not new younger vets are coming in to take on this crisis. People don't understand when we say that it's millions of parrots that are on this planet that are in captivity, like millions and millions and millions. And a lot of times they're not getting the right care because there's not enough vets to care for all these birds. That's something that we have to think about too. So I'm really grateful that you brought that up.
And then you've got to find insurance, really specialized insurance for them. And what worries me, and I've done like a lot of reading up and learning, is because our vet is like 45 minutes to almost an hour away, if he's ever in an emergency situation, they can deteriorate so quickly. It's the laid signs. They keep everything hidden for so long. And then the likelihood of them deteriorating and decompensating really quickly. I've been online and looking at parrot first aid. I've got all the bits I can at home. Should anything happen, that's another thing that really worries me about the lack of avian vets. That's
a good point. For people that are listening, Robin, who runs Parrot SOS, she actually does parrot first aid, and she has a whole course on her website. I'm going to drop that because it is really important. And I think she does live webinars as well every couple of months to teach parrot first aid. So if we know as much care as we can in those situations, it could give them some time to get to those situations. So that's part of the responsibility of owning a parrot. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, he's got his favorite bow. This is what happens.
Oh, look at those.
Oh,
Yorka, look at you.
You want your Vogue? You want your Vogue magazine again? This is what happened to my subscription. Like,
it's his subscription now.
I have one more question to finish it with.
Okay.
For anybody watching that is considering getting a bird, could you just say why you chose rescue and why it was important for you to do a rescue rather than go to a breeder or a pet store?
Absolutely. I'm so anti-breeder. I just think it's so irresponsible to be breeding these animals that are so socially complex with specialist needs that live forever. It's bad enough the crises that we see with dogs and cats. But for these guys, I think it's awful. So it was really important to me to rescue. Some people think that if you get them from a chick, you're going to bond better and you can train them better. It's not guaranteed at all because their babies are like 7 years. And then you've got to get through hormones. Just going through it once a year as an adult is riff every time. And they're so clever. Yorka's had him at 21. He already came with loads of different tricks and everything. And he's learned more. And there are so many birds out there that you can have a really wonderful relationship with that just need a rescue. I think it's really, really rewarding. I'm quite passionate about they shouldn't be allowed to be bred, I don't think.
I agree.
I agree.
We don't follow any breeding pages, any pet shop pages. I won't follow them. I don't want to show my support. Always adopt.
Always. Sometimes people have made these comments and they're like, my rescue centers are empty, which I think for one is a lie. But if they are, then there's no excuse for you to make a little bit of a commute to go find a rescue center that might be a little bit further away to go look for one, not just because you couldn't find one in a local area to say, oh, I'm just going to get a baby now. That is so irresponsible. And please check yourself to think about that. I could probably call 20 rescue centers in Canada and probably have an option of thousands to choose from.
We're in a crisis in Canada. There's too many. There's too many in rescues. They're overrun.
They have estimated 1 million parrots in rescue right now in Canada. And if you put that in perspective of how big of our population here in Canada, we have just over 40 million people, right?
Eye-opening.
So if you're thinking about getting a parrot, first of all, do your research. This is going to change your entire life. No question. No maybes. Yes, it will. But look to rescue, please. These birds need homes.
100%.
Claire, thank you so much for the beautiful conversation. And we have really enjoyed watching Yorka. What a great conversation about rescue and giving not only a second chance, a third chance, but a fourth chance with Yorka. I'm really grateful that he's had such a wonderful life with you and hopefully for a long, long time. We're excited to continue watching your channel. Speaking of that, can you tell everybody where to find you and find more content and see Yorka?
We're on Instagram. We are at Ain't No Law Macaw. We're on TikTok and we are Yorka Macaw. But I have to confess, I don't really understand TikTok very well. I think he's better seen on Insta where I can it's better represented to understand.
Perfect.
I'm showing my age a bit.
For all of you watching, I'll have those links directly in the description and in the show notes for this podcast episode so that way you can easily go follow Yorka because Yorka's such a joy to follow and watch. So, Claire, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Honestly, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Squawk Global Experience. I'm Kyle.
I'm Emily.
And we'll see you next time.